Bleacher Report just released their top 20 WNBA player rankings ahead of the 2025 season. So who's in the top 5? Number 1, A'ja Wilson. Number 2, Napheesa Collier. Number 3, Breanna Stewart. Number 4, Alyssa Thomas. And number 5, Caitlin Clark. So let's talk about it.
Did you catch the latest WNBA player rankings? Caitlin Clark, who just finished 4th in MVP voting, somehow slipped to 5th overall. How does that make sense? The level of disrespect is wild, and Rachel Dita isn't having it. We're talking about a player who literally reshaped women's basketball in record time, and now she's being downgraded? The media claims it's about championships and turnovers, but let's be real, expecting a rookie to have rings already is just ridiculous. It doesn't add up. There's clearly something off with these rankings, and the bias against Caitlin Clark is getting harder to ignore. Just listen to what Rachel Dita had to say.
But let's talk about this top 5 because I don't love it. As you can probably guess, I don't love it. Caitlin Clark at 5 is crazy to me, and it's crazy to me just off the rip because if we look at the MVP voting from last season, she was number 4 in MVP voting. It was A'ja, Napheesa, Breanna, and then Caitlin. I don't know how she slides down into the number 5 spot, especially behind Alyssa Thomas.
Let's put this into perspective. Caitlin Clark finished 4th in MVP voting during her rookie season. That alone is an incredible achievement and a clear sign of how instantly impactful she was. So how does a player deemed the 4th most valuable in the entire league suddenly drop to 5th in the overall rankings? That kind of math just doesn't add up. Fans are scratching their heads, especially when you factor in how much she's elevated the sport's visibility and popularity in such a short time.
The conversations around Caitlin Clark are reminiscent of crash outs, very often completely out of proportion to the reality of this point. But it is strange to see them continue with such passion, and really all they are is an indication of Caitlin Clark's motion and popularity.
What's particularly puzzling is the player they ranked above her, Alyssa Thomas, who was placed higher than Clark, despite spending much of the previous season dealing with injuries.
Because Alyssa Thomas is a veteran getting older in this league, and Caitlin Clark is only going into her 2nd season. She is also not coming off of a college season. She essentially played an NBA season last year, the amount of games that she played. She has had an entire offseason to get stronger, to get ready for the 2nd WNBA season, and now she has pieces around her.
Thomas is no doubt talented, but how does a player who dealt with injuries outrank a rookie who lit up the league? Veteran analyst Rachel Demita even called the rankings crazy and questioned this exact comparison, pointing out how absurd it is to place an injury-plagued player above someone who transformed women's basketball. The rankings completely overlook the massive impact Clark had in just her first season. WNBA attendance jumped 74% across the league, with Fever Games selling out 17 straight home games, a franchise record. TV ratings shot up too, averaging 1.22 million viewers, a 170% increase from the previous year. Fans who had never watched women's basketball before became hooked. That's the measurable Clark effect, and these rankings simply ignore it.
Personal opinion, she shouldn't be 5. She absolutely shouldn't be 5. I have her top 3. Probably top 2.
This controversy exposes how the media tries to control the narrative around who gets to be the face of women's basketball. There's a clear hesitation to fully acknowledge Clark's impact, almost as if there's an unwritten rule that rookies aren't allowed to rise too fast, no matter how big their performance or influence.
She was getting double and triple teamed last season, face guarded. You guys seen it. We've talked about it so many times on here, and she was still in the top 4 of MVP voting and still broke so many records as a rookie.
Look at what Clark pulled off as a rookie. She entered a league stacked with experienced veterans, took hits every game, faced tough defense, and still played at an MVP level. That's impressive by any standard. Yet somehow, the new rankings suggest she's regressed, which doesn't add up considering everything she's accomplished. The truth is, these rankings are downplaying Clark's game-changing impact. It's almost like they're saying, thanks for bringing millions of new fans to the WNBA. But wait your turn. Rachel Dita called it out, and she's absolutely right. Clark's influence goes way beyond stats. She's attracting new sponsors, driving major TV deals, and giving the league the spotlight it's needed for years.
So let's talk about why they put her at number 5. The writer says Clark was also somewhat tough to slot. Having a rookie ahead of multiple champions and MVPs feels like a case of too much too soon. And there aren't court quibbles to poke at. The turnover numbers, I knew this was coming. Though explainable with coverage and degree of difficulty, context are still a lot. There is certainly growth needed defensively, particularly off the ball.
The reasons they're using to keep Clark at number 5 are beyond ridiculous. When you actually hear the logic, it's enough to make your blood boil. They're clinging to two main criticisms: her turnovers and the lack of championship rings. But those arguments fall apart the second you apply even a little critical thinking. Let's start with the turnover narrative. Yes, Clark had turnovers, as any rookie would, but what the media ignores is why they happened. Rachel Demita, a former player and respected analyst, broke it down perfectly. Clark's passing is so sharp, so advanced, that it often exposed her teammates' inability to keep up. Picture this. She fires a perfect bounce pass between 3 defenders, reading the floor 2 steps ahead, expecting her teammate to cut to the basket. But the teammate hesitates. The pass goes out of bounds, and Clark gets tagged with the turnover. That's not a mistake. It's a high-level play her team couldn't finish.
It's like, as much as people harp on Caitlin about turnovers and not having any rings, I just want to take this mic and bang it against my head if I hear someone else say that she hasn't won anything and that's why we can't label her as great.
This happens because Clark sees the court in a way others don't. She's 3 steps ahead, spotting opportunities before anyone else even realizes they're there. When she makes those pinpoint passes and her teammates miss the chance, it's Clark who takes the statistical hit for their lack of execution.
There is no one like Caitlin Clark in the history of the WNBA.
Analysts are using these turnovers as a distraction to overlook everything else Clark brings to the table. They focus on this cherry-picked stat, while completely ignoring her scoring ability, game-changing shooting range, and court vision that opens up opportunities for everyone around her. It's like judging a 5-course meal by only talking about the napkins. The second excuse is even more ridiculous. They argue Clark should be ranked lower because other players have championship rings. But she's a rookie. How could she possibly have multiple championships already? This reasoning makes no sense at all.
So LeBron goes in the league his first season and doesn't win an NBA title, and all of a sudden he can't be top 5 in MVP voting. Like, we don't do this in any other sport, and we especially don't do it in basketball. We do not rank NBA players based on if they won in college or how many titles they had.
Demita called this argument exactly what it is: a complete cop-out. She emphasized a fundamental truth. Championships are team accomplishments, not individual achievements. Using rings as the main factor for individual rankings is deeply flawed, especially when it comes to a first-year player.
That point, but we do not do this, especially in their first year. So the fact that they're putting her at 5 just because other people have won championships is just a cop-out. In my personal opinion, she shouldn't be 5. She absolutely shouldn't be 5. I have her top 3. Probably top 2, just because of what we've seen.
The double standard becomes even more obvious when you look at players ranked above Clark. Nafessa Collier and Breanna Stewart are both ranked higher, despite their teams not even making the playoffs last season. If championships and team success are so important, shouldn't those criteria apply to everyone?
Now, if you're also going by what if these players played in the offseason, there's only one person, 2 people actually, 2 people in the top 5 who played during the offseason in Unrivaled, and that's Breanna Stewart and Nafessa Collier. And if you're going by that, Breanna Stewart actually didn't do as well as a lot of people were expecting in Unrivaled. And she also didn't win. Like, I don't even think her team made playoffs. And again, I'm not holding that against her because it's a different type of game, but I think a lot of people were expecting Breanna Stewart to be in that MVP conversation in Unrivaled, and she wasn't.
Exactly. The media has created special rules just for Clark. When evaluating other players, they focus on individual talent and skill. But when it comes to Clark, they suddenly shift to team achievements and context-free statistics. They're moving the goalposts so blatantly that even casual fans can see exactly what's going on.
Think that championships are definitely a team recognition. They are something that a team does together and accomplish as a player. And when you're ranking players, you are ranking them as an individual unit rather than a team.
This ranking reveals a systematic attempt to control who gets to be the face of women's basketball. They're using criteria that no rookie could possibly meet. A circular logic designed specifically to prevent Clark from getting the recognition she clearly deserves.
And I don't think Breanna Stewart should be ahead of Caitlin, and I also don't think Alyssa Thomas should be ahead of Caitlin. This is nothing against either of these 2 players.
This circular logic against Clark isn't just happening now. It's been the game plan since her college days. The pattern of disrespect goes way deeper than people realize, and you won't believe just how blatant it's been.
Okay, so you just really honestly can't make this up, as it seems like the goalpost for the best college basketball player has shifted as Caitlin Clark has entered the conversation.
Remember when ESPN put together their ranking of the top 5 women's college basketball players? Somehow, the woman who transformed the entire sport and shattered scoring records didn't make the cut. But here's the kicker. They still used Clark's face as the thumbnail for the article. They exploited her popularity for clicks while simultaneously saying she wasn't good enough to rank among the best.
I'm not here rah feminist anything, but I feel like the idea of showing Caitlin Clark more praise than other people is something that is very hard for the mainstream media and a lot of other people that are not fans of Caitlin Clark to do.
ESPN was perfectly fine using Clark's image to drive traffic, fully aware that audiences would be drawn to her. Then, they delivered the ultimate slap in the face by excluding her from the rankings those same fans came to see. This was clear, calculated manipulation, designed to stir up controversy while undermining her achievements. What possible justification could they have for leaving her out? Their explanation was centered around Clark not winning a national championship.
The reason that they removed Caitlin Clark from the conversation was because she does not have a championship ring. For college basketball, remember, just college. We're not talking about anything else.
Yet that same excuse falls apart when you look at their other rankings. When ESPN ranked the top 10 college basketball players of all time, combining both men and women, they included 3 male players who never won championships. So, championships became an essential criterion for women, but were optional for men.
Because I just found a 4-year-old video from SportsCenter/ESPN where they did rank the top 10 college basketball players of all time. 6 of them are men, 4 of them are women, and get this, 3 of the men did not have any sort of championship ring whatsoever.
It's like playing a game where the rules keep changing mid-play. Just when you think you've scored, the goalposts move. For male players without championships, the narrative celebrates their individual talent, despite team shortcomings. But for Clark, it's suddenly about team success. She can't be considered among the best without it. The criteria shift mysteriously, depending on what's needed to justify keeping Clark from recognition. The goalposts are never fixed. One moment it's about championships, then turnovers, then experience, or some other vague quality that conveniently favors established players. Each new standard appears exactly when needed to justify Clark's exclusion.
To elevating your team, it's like, how much does that go into the MVP conversation? Are we just going to put these players' stats on paper and compare them in that sense? Or are we going to see how they're also impacting their team, elevating their teammates, and making their team better?
The hypocrisy becomes even more glaring when these same media outlets talk about growing women's basketball. They write articles lamenting low viewership and brainstorming ways to expand the audience. Then, when Clark does exactly that, bringing in record crowds, massive TV ratings, and millions of new fans, they actively downplay her impact instead of celebrating it.
It has gotten to the point where she is so good, she is so honored, she is so celebrated and decorated now with all of these awards and different things that it cannot be denied. It can't be denied at this point if everyone is saying it but a small little group. It really, this small little group is clearly the one that is in the wrong at this point and is just not able to see what the reality is and see the greatness of Caitlin.
This represents a systematic attempt by certain media gatekeepers to control the narrative around women's basketball. It's about deciding who gets to be the face of the sport based on factors that have nothing to do with actual impact or performance. When Clark's popularity threatened their preferred hierarchy, instead of embracing the growth she brought, they doubled down on efforts to undermine her. Ask yourself, why are these outlets so determined to hold back the very player delivering exactly what the sport needs? Is it because she challenges their authority as the gatekeepers of who matters? Is it because her meteoric rise wasn't part of their pre-written narrative? Or is it something even more concerning? A resistance to seeing women's basketball achieve mainstream success on its own terms?
Last year with the Fever, a lot of people weren't even expecting them to make playoffs. Can A'ja Wilson bring her team to the playoffs, make it past the first round, put up the numbers like she is, but also elevate her team and get her teammates involved and really become that leader?
You know what's crazy? This whole ranking situation might actually be the best thing that could have happened to Caitlin Clark. She's been hitting the gym hard, putting on muscle, and gearing up to absolutely dominate her second season. Clark has always used criticism as fuel. She thrives when people doubt her. The media's negativity is only forging her into steel, transforming her into an unstoppable force the league isn't ready for. Every underestimation becomes her strength, and this disrespect will push her game to levels we can't even imagine. Are you ready to witness history? Share your thoughts below on how Clark will prove everyone wrong.